Main Beach has always been a high-rise suburb, particularly in the area that's east of Tedder Avenue. But what's happened recently, and there are some reasons for it, is that suddenly the council is approving development applications that are hugely non-compliant with the city plan. And that affects three main areas, really, which is, and I hate to use technical terms, but it's to do with site coverage, setbacks from boundaries, and actually the density of the buildings.
So thicker and higher, basically.
High is not a problem because Main Beach is actually zoned as unlimited height. So nobody's complaining about height, funnily enough, because you can't. It is unlimited. The problem is the bulkiness of the buildings and the impact they're having on the adjacent buildings. For example, we've got towers being approved now that are with only 9 metres separation from the next door tower. So it has a terrible effect on people's amenity, which is basically light and privacy and, of course, views, but nobody owns a view. So I think the community is pretty knowledgeable about all this, but they are very worried and very angry.
I'm thinking Hong Kong or New York City where you can put your hand out the window and shake your neighbour's hand.
You could lean over and give somebody a cup of tea, basically.
Sue, how many projects are you aware of going through the planning and approval stage at the moment around Main Beach?
Well, it's a combination of ones that have already been approved. Some have started construction already, some are about to. Then there are others in the pipeline. Then the other thing that's happening, there's a developer feeding frenzy going on with developers trying to persuade people to sell to them, so that they can develop on, like 39-storey towers on what's basically a house block, less than 1,000 square metres. So we've actually done a survey of the whole of the suburb and identified all of the sites that are likely to be redeveloped in the next 5 years, 10 years and 20. We don't have a problem with redevelopment at all. And of course, there are a lot of buildings that should be demolished and redeveloped. It's just they should be done in a way that complies with the city plan.
Sue, Tedder Avenue, I think it's fair to say, has struggled in recent years with a number of commercial vacancies. Wouldn't having more residents in Main Beach help rejuvenate the suburb?
Well, actually, you know what? It doesn't need rejuvenating. I mean, there have been empty shops there, you're right, for the last 7 or 8 years, but almost all of them are now tenanted again. You can, as you walk up Tedder Avenue, you hear the hammers going, and almost every commercial premise is now, either tenanted or about to be. So that's happened already.
You've got a public meeting on July 27.
Correct, at the Southport Yacht Club. Can I just say, Tom, it's not just about Main Beach. I think a lot of people think, well, it's quite a privileged suburb, which it is. But what we're talking about is happening, as you would know, Palm Beach, Burleigh, Rainbow Bay, anywhere really that's within a kilometre or so of the light rail. And that's one of the real problems, is the light rail overlay.
So on the July 27th, Sue, who will you have speaking?
We'll have Councillor Darren Taylor, who's been extremely helpful, and I think his concerns are as great as ours. He's made a point of voting against a lot of these very non-compliant developments, but he's been in a minority. And we'll have various town planning experts. We will be revealing results of the site surveys that we've done and we've extrapolated. So we've got terrific diagrams of here's what it's going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, unless there's a circuit breaker.
Do you think that you could end up in legal action to try and stop the number, or are you just trying to do it through the political process?
The problem is the legal action doesn't work, because one of the things we'll do at that meeting is explain all the technicalities, which I'm not going to bore your listeners with now, but the fact is that community has absolutely no rights in an area like Main Beach because it's called code accessible, which means the community has no rights. They have no rights to be told what's happening. They have no rights to object, and they have no rights to appeal to the land court. So legal action just gets you nowhere. You have no rights, and that's what we want to change through the state government.
Sue Donovan is the president of the Main Beach Association. There is a community meeting being held on the 27th of July at Southport Yacht Club. Sue, do you have the weight of numbers in Main Beach? Is the majority of residents hold the same concerns that you and the association do?
I would say 99% of residents. I get phone calls all day, every day, people saying, could you please explain why this is happening? And our membership is just growing exponentially, as you can imagine.
We also, just a quick question, earlier this week, Council was told it's going to consider a plan for a helicopter parachuting business on the Spit. Yes. We know Main Beach residents have been opposed to development along the Spit. What's your view on a potential business of jumping out of helicopters at Main Beach?
Speak for everybody in Main Beach to say we're absolutely opposed to it. The noise pollution is a real problem. We're all very involved in the Spit Master Plan, I should say, so we are very involved. The Spit's supposed to be a place for peaceful recreation and have helicopters landing on the beach, dangerous and noisy and polluting. Really, everyone's absolutely against it and hope the council does not vote in favour of this proposal next Tuesday.